Bug. Ding Fan lived alone in the outskirts of the city, working as an editor for a fashionable magazine. His life was quiet, almost too quiet. Every evening, as he returned to his modest apartment, the silence of the empty space reminded him of his solitude. On a weekend trip to the countryside with some co-workers, he bought 2 baby chicks from a local farmer. When he brought them home and placed them on the balcony, they immediately began chirping, their tiny voices adding a layer of noise to his otherwise lifeless home. He fed them millet and occasionally gave them some water. After a few days, one of the chicks started growing weaker. A week later, it lay limp on the cold floor, twitching faintly before closing its eyes for the last time. Ding Fan, kind-hearted and soft by nature, sat beside it for a long time, feeling a deep sadness. Reflecting on it later, he thought millet alone might not have provided enough nutrients. Maybe it needed to eat insects just like in the wild. That weekend, he took the remaining chick outside to find bugs. Others walked their dogs. He led a fragile little chick. It followed close behind wherever he went, staying tight to his heels. It seemed to know that a careless foot could be the end of it. It was cautious, almost timid. The chick ate many bugs that day, mosquitoes and other tiny creatures. With its sharp beak, it pecked and swallowed them one by one, quickly and with surprising precision. Its movements were nimble, deliberate, and strong. Over the course of a few months, the chick grew. One evening after work, Ding Fan took the bus home. The stop was still half a block from his apartment complex, so he walked. It was dusk. The cement road stretched out smooth and flat before him, bathed in the thick crimson light of the setting sun. There wasn't another soul in sight. On both sides of the road, wild grass grew waist-deep. It stood in contrast to the manicured lawns of the residential compound, which were watered, trimmed, and treated to resemble soft green carpets. Then Ding Fan stopped walking. A strange bug had crawled out from the weeds onto the road. He had never seen anything like it before. It was completely grass green. If it had stayed in the foliage, no one would have noticed it. It was as thick as his little finger, round and soft, seemingly boneless. Its entire underside was lined with tiny grass-colored legs, or perhaps hair-like filaments that moved in synchronized waves to push it slowly forward. The sight of it made Ding Fan's skin crawl. Still, he thought about the chick at home. It might enjoy such a rare find. He pulled out his ID card, gently nudged the bug onto it with a pen, and quickly walked back home. The bug lay motionless on the card. Its face was too small to distinguish. No visible forehead, no eyes, no mouth, no discernible expression. But Ding Fan couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching him with a cold, intense stare. Just as he neared home, the bug suddenly crept to the edge of the ID card, straightened itself out with half its body hanging in midair. Then it twisted sharply toward Ding Fan and touched his hand. Its skin was soft, plump, damp, fleshy, and covered in fine hairs. The sensation made him shiver. Instinctively, he flung the ID and the bug away. The bug hit the ground and began crawling toward the lawn. Ding Fan quickly bent down and scooped it back up, then hurried inside. At home, he placed the bug on the balcony floor and nudged the chick toward it. The chick approached, circled the bug a few times, clearly hesitant. At last, it pecked the bug cautiously. Immediately, the bug curled tightly into a ball. The chick grew bolder. picked up the bug, dropped it, picked it up again, dropped it again, repeating the process over and over. Yet somehow it couldn't pierce the bug's skin. Ding Fan watched as the chick eventually gave up. It clucked and ran to a corner of the balcony, glancing back at the bug with what seemed like unease. No matter how much Ding Fan called it, it wouldn't come closer again. His fear was clear. Ding Fan felt strangely disappointed. Ding Fan watched as the chick cowered in the corner, unwilling to approach the bug again. He felt dejected. Then he thought about tossing the bug off the balcony and into the grass below. But another thought surfaced. Why let something so repulsive continue to exist? A violent impulse rose within him. He went into the room and returned with a sharp knife. Kneeling beside the bug, he gritted his teeth and slashed at it. But the blade didn't cut through. The bug seemed to feel pain. Though it remained curled into a ball, it suddenly twisted its body in a full 360-degree roll. It didn't make a sound. In that motion, Ding Fan caught a glimpse of its underside. Not an actual belly, but a forest of hair-like legs beneath its body, endless and writhing. His heart froze. Despite looking soft and tender, the bug's body had the tenacity of rubber. It resisted the knife as if made of dense, fibrous material. He didn't want to deal with it anymore. He decided to flush it down the toilet. Using his ID card, he nudged the bug onto it again, carried it into the bathroom, and dumped it into the bowl. It landed in the water and instantly straightened itself out, floating calmly. Its countless legs stirred the water. Its head, or what might be its head, remained aimed squarely at Ding Fan. He didn't want to look at it. He pressed the flush button. The torrent of water roared, swirling the bug away in seconds. The pipes were pitch black, tightly sealed, twisted and endless. As the bug vanished into the plumbing, Ding Fan had the unsettling impression that its unseen eyes were still fixed on him, like a prisoner about to be executed, staring coldly at the one who would take its life. The bug was gone. Shortly after, a man named Xiao Jia entered Ding Fan's life. Everyone called him that, a freelance photographer introduced by a painter friend. Ding Fan often needed high-quality photos for his magazine's home decor section and always brought a photographer along for interviews. This painter friend was a romantic type. She said Xiao Jia was a photographic genius. Xiao Jia, however, was reserved and soft-spoken. He refused Ding Fan's invitation to shoot photos, merely saying that he might tag along sometime. He emphasized that unless he felt inspired, he wouldn't shoot anything at all. He was in his 30s, unmarried, thin and pale, with scraggly facial hair he often left unshaved. According to the painter, Xiao Jia wasn't interested in luxurious interiors. He preferred natural subjects: tree bark, tall grass, dead leaves, harvested fields. Yet Ding Fan had never seen any of his work. Perhaps he was one of those reclusive geniuses. Xiao Jia certainly acted the part. He rarely spoke, often staring into the distance with a distracted air. One time, Ding Fan sat beside him and followed his gaze. He was staring at a completely blank white wall. Maybe all artists are a bit strange, Ding Fan thought. One day, the three of them, Ding Fan, Xiao Jia, and the painter, had dinner together. Before the food arrived, Ding Fan brought up the strange green bug. When he described how it rolled 360 degrees, the painter shrieked in horror and begged him to stop. She had been afraid of bugs since childhood and said she'd have nightmares that night for sure. Xiao Jia sat opposite Ding Fan, quietly sipping tea, unmoved, as if he hadn't heard a word. All right, I'll stop," Ding Fan said, laughing. The restaurant was nearly empty. The lights were dim, casting a yellow gloom. In the middle of the meal, a piercing chicken cry suddenly rang out from behind them. Xiao Jia jolted violently, as if electrocuted. The painter didn't notice, but Ding Fan did. He turned and saw a chef in a white hat carrying a live chicken into the kitchen. Xiao Jia steadied himself and resumed sipping his tea. He didn't drink any alcohol. His strange reaction planted a seed of suspicion in Ding Fan's heart. Later, Ding Fan brought Xiao Jia along to interview a Pulitzer Prize-winning American photographer who lived in a traditional courtyard home in Beijing. The house blended Chinese and Western styles with unique charm. Xiao Jia, as always, didn't answer his phone during the day and only woke up at dusk. By the time the interview ended, night had fallen. As they passed a grassy field on the way back, Ding Fan noticed two people sitting alone in the distance. Under the weak moonlight, their silhouettes looked oddly secretive. Xiao Jia stopped, staring into the field. "This scene reminds me of my childhood," said Ding Fan. "We used to play hide and seek in the meadows near home." Xiao Jia seemed to listen for a moment. Then he interrupted in an eerie tone. "If I were hiding in the grass right now, would you be able to find me?" His voice chilled Ding Fan. He turned to look at Xiao Jia. In the moonlight, his pale face had a greenish tint. His worn military jacket was the exact same shade as the grass. He stared directly at Ding Fan. His eyes were like black holes. Ding Fan shivered. That expression, it reminded him of something. Since then, he couldn't stop thinking about Xiao Jia's eyes under the moonlight. They looked exactly like the eyes of the bug he had flushed away. He knew it sounded ridiculous, but the fear wouldn't leave. Why did Xiao Jia only come out at night? Why did he always wear grass-green clothing? Why did he always look so strange? A few days later, Ding Fan turned on his computer one evening and opened his email inbox. There was a message with no subject line. He opened it and was stunned. It was a photo of Xiao Jia. He was sitting in a sparse autumn forest, squinting at the camera. The frame was wide, the figure small. From within the photo, Xiao Jia stared at him silently through the screen. It made Ding Fan's skin crawl. They had only met twice. Ding Fan never asked for any photos. They weren't close. Why would Xiao Jia send this to him? The longer he stared, the more terrified he felt. He deleted the photo from his inbox, then emptied the trash folder. That night, he couldn't sleep. In the dark, all he could see were Xiao Jia's unblinking eyes from the photograph. Why did he send it? It was a terrifying question. Sometime past midnight, Ding Fan finally managed to fall asleep, but he awoke suddenly. Something felt wrong with the room. His spine was cold, and the air felt heavy. He turned on the light. Everything looked normal. Just as he reached to switch the light off again, he sensed something. Eyes staring at him from the gap beneath the door. He looked closely. A green bug was there. It was the same kind he had flushed away, or perhaps another. Its furry legs moved slowly beneath its body, and its tiny face was turned toward him. He could feel its gaze locking onto his eyes. Goosebumps erupted across his entire body. Was it the same one? Was it here for revenge? He climbed down from the bed, shivering, and grabbed a broom. But when he approached, the bug leisurely slid away from the doorway and disappeared into the hallway. Ding Fan stood there, stunned, for a long time before returning to bed. He couldn't sleep. He tossed and turned, haunted by that unsettling creature. The next morning, he called Xiao Jia twice. No answer. He tried again that evening. After many rings, Xiao Jia finally picked up. "Did you send me an email last night?" "No," came the cold reply. "That's strange. I received one yesterday. It was your photo. I never send people photos. Maybe it was a prank?" "Could be." Ding Fan hung up. The more he thought about it, the more uneasy he felt. Every time he walked back from work, he now stuck to the middle of the cement road, eyes darting toward the wild grass on either side. He imagined countless green bugs hiding in the weeds, and a chill crept up his spine. Then it happened again. One evening, he opened his inbox and found another email with no subject line. It was another photo of Xiao Jia. This time it was a close-up, his pale face, patchy beard, staring straight at the lens. His eyes seemed mere inches from Ding Fan's own. Ding Fan gasped. He hurriedly deleted the email. That night, he lay in the dark, sleepless again. What did this strange man want? In the early morning hours, he finally drifted into a shallow sleep. He woke abruptly. Something warm and fleshy was pressing against his ear. He sat up in panic, turned on the light, and nearly passed out. A green bug was on his bed, halfway into his ear canal. He could feel its hairy legs brushing his skin. The creature was motionless, except for those countless legs, slowly stirring in place. Its face faced his. This time he thought he saw its eyes. Alien, unblinking eyes. His mind went blank. He scrambled backward, hitting the wall. The bug remained still, watching him. Finally, he grabbed a pillow and swatted at it. The bug didn't panic. It simply crawled off the bed and slipped out through the door gap. Ding Fan collapsed, sitting on the floor. His hands and feet were ice cold. Morning came. Though the fear had slightly faded, its shadow still hovered over him. He began noticing a pattern. Each time he received a photo of Xiao Jia, a bug appeared soon after. First a distant photo and a distant bug. Then a close-up, and the bug had reached his bed. Now he had seen hundreds of photos. What would happen next? He tried to calm himself. Xiao Jia couldn't possibly be connected to the bug. It must be a coincidence. But one thing was certain, the bug had come for revenge. Its intentions were unknown, but Ding Fan felt a plot buried deep in those invisible eyes. Was it the same bug he had flushed? Or a relative? He didn't know, but he was terrified. Maybe it wanted to crawl into his ear and kill him. There was no one to report this to. No police would believe him. He couldn't ask for help. And worst of all, he had no way to stop it. The bugs lived in the grass. He couldn't wipe them out. He couldn't plug every crack in his apartment. He couldn't stay awake forever. Suddenly, he regretted everything. He regretted ever harming that bug. From then on, before bed, he stuffed his ears tightly with cotton balls. A few peaceful days passed. No new photos. No bugs. Ding Fan finally exhaled in relief. The magazine deadline was approaching, but he had no suitable houses to feature. He suddenly remembered his painter friend and called her. Any leads? She thought for a moment. Have you seen Xiao Jia's house? No, it's very unusual. Why not interview him? Where does he live? Out in the countryside. Takes over 2 hours by car. He bought land in a village called Tianyuan and built a house there. I've been there, it's very unique. That evening, Ding Fan got in touch with Xiao Jia. Come, Xiao Jia said calmly. By the time the taxi reached the village, it was already dark. Xiao Jia's house stood isolated, 3 miles from the nearest home. It had high walls, heavy doors, and several fierce guard dogs. The surrounding weeds grew wild, untrimmed and overgrown. Only Xiao Jia lived there. As Ding Fan entered, the first thing he noticed was the coldness. The house was tall, like a hall or a shrine. There were no warm colors. Everything was a dark bluish hue. Ceiling, walls, floor. No chandelier hung overhead. The lights were low, casting shadows upward. Xiao Jia gestured to him. Look around if you like. Then he sat on a couch and watched Ding Fan silently. There was something disturbingly familiar about his expression. You're imagining things, Ding Fan scolded himself. There were many rooms, most of them open. Ding Fan walked through one by one. No kitchen, no bedroom, no study, not even a bathroom. Just photography studios, filled with strange equipment. One door was tightly shut. He approached it. Xiao Jia was staring straight at him. Feeling the weight of that gaze, Ding Fan forced a smile. What's this room? Don't touch that door, said Xiao Jia. Ding Fan felt a chill run down his back. Sorry, if it's private, I won't look. Xiao Jia gave a strange smile. It's nothing, really. He paused. It's where I keep my work. I've never seen your photos before, Ding Fan said. This would be a great chance. If we run a feature on your house, it'd be good to include some of your photos too. Xiao Jia walked over slowly, took a single key from his pocket, and inserted it into the lock. You can look, but don't regret it. Outside, the night was endless and silent. As the door opened, Ding Fan's fear surged. His heart pounded violently. The door was unusually thick, at least half a foot. If someone were killed inside, no one outside would hear. The room inside glowed faintly green. Ding Fan stepped in and recoiled. The room was long and narrow. Every inch of the walls, ceiling, and floor was covered in photographs. All of Xiao Jia. The walls, the ceiling, even the floor. Every surface in the narrow room was completely covered with photographs of Xiao Jia. Ding Fan had heard an old superstition as a child. If you stare at 10,000 photos of a stranger at midnight, you'll go insane. He had always laughed it off. But now, inside this room, surrounded by endless images of the same man, he was on the verge of collapse. There were more photos than he could count. Not a single one was repeated. Yet every photo shared the same expression. Xiao Jia, staring coldly at the camera. Gripping the doorframe, Ding Fan forced himself to take a deep breath. You've taken a lot of photos, he said as calmly as he could. Xiao Jia stood behind him. All of my work is self-portraits, he said. How many? More than 10,000. Ding Fan stepped into the room. Felt like a nightmare. He quickly shut his eyes and backed out. He returned to the main room and sat on the couch. Xiao Jia followed, taking a seat across from him, right in the shadows. His gaze didn't waver. It was the same gaze as the one in the photographs. Ding Fan's stomach churned. He tried to think of something to say, but his mind was blank. After a while, he stood up awkwardly. "I should get going." "You can't," Xiao Jia said flatly. "There are no cars out here. It's too remote." Ding Fan realized the truth in his words. "Stay the night," Xiao Jia said. "You can leave in the morning." Ding Fan's thoughts raced, but no solution presented itself. Xiao Jia stood up and fetched a set of bedding from a cupboard. "You can sleep in the main room." "What about you?" Ding Fan asked. "Don't worry about me." Xiao Jia yawned, walked to the photo room, and stepped inside. As he shut the heavy door behind him, he said, "I'll be in here. I sleep very deeply. If anything happens, knock." Ding Fan nodded stiffly. Once the door closed, he spread out the bedding and lay down. He turned off the light. Outside, the wind began to howl, like a woman weeping. Lying in the dark, Ding Fan couldn't shake the growing suspicion that there was something terribly wrong with this photographer. In his fear, he remembered the painter who had introduced them. Maybe she knew something important. He quietly took out his phone and dialed her number. She answered, drowsy. "You're calling me this late?" "I was already asleep." Ding Fan lowered his voice. "Tell me, how did you meet Xiao Jia?" "Why? Please, just tell me." "It was by chance," she said. "One evening I was walking home alone. The wind blew my scarf away. I chased it, and it landed beside a man sitting in the grass, watching the sunset. He grabbed it for me. That's how we met. Later I found out he was a photographer." Ding Fan's blood turned cold. The grass. Again. That was when he heard something from the photo room. He ended the call. "Thanks," he said, and hung up before she could reply. He tugged the blanket higher over his body. The sound was gone. His entire being focused on that door. Outside, the wind grew stronger. The whole world seemed to shake. At some point, he drifted into sleep. He dreamed that the bug had entered the house and was crawling toward his blanket. In the dream, terrified, he leapt up and tried to escape. But then he remembered Xiao Jia. He shouted, "Xiao Jia, run!" A lazy voice came from the photo room. "What is it?" "It's too late. Get out now." A pause. Then Xiao Jia's voice again. "All right." The bug crept toward Ding Fan like a shadow. He backed away, keeping his distance, waiting for Xiao Jia to appear. But time passed. Still no sign of him. Ding Fan shouted again, "Xiao Jia, what are you doing?" From inside came the sluggish reply, "I haven't finished putting on my shoes." Panicked, Ding Fan rushed toward the door, kicked it open. Xiao Jia was facing the wall, hunched over, indeed pulling on his shoes. Ding Fan slapped him on the back. "Do you want to die?" Xiao Jia slowly turned around. Ding Fan screamed. His face was gone. His stomach, arms, and legs were gone. His entire body was covered in legs. Furry, wriggling, countless legs. He looked like a giant living brush. The legs moved slowly, in waves. Ding Fan awoke with a scream, drenched in sweat. He stared at the door to the photo room. In the dim light, it looked like a face with no features. He could no longer convince himself that the room was safe. Something else was here. Then a memory struck him. First, Xiao Jia sent him a photo. That night, a bug appeared. Later, he sent another photo. a second bug appeared. Now he had seen thousands of photos. His whole body shuddered. He reached out and turned on the light, then froze. The dark bluish room was filled with bugs. Green bugs. They crawled across his blanket, the bedding, the pillow, everywhere. Their countless legs moved slowly in place, like a ritual. Suddenly, he felt something hairy drilling into his ear. He shrieked, clawing at his head. Too late. He could feel them on his head, his neck, his shoulders. Then the pain hit. Felt like his skull was being chewed from the inside. The bug wasn't just crawling, it was eating, but not his soft flesh. It went for the bone. Wherever it moved, bone crumbled into powder. It moved faster and faster, deeper and deeper. Ding Fan thrashed like a fish in boiling oil, banging his head against the wall. Finally, he collapsed. His skeleton shattered inside his skin. And still he wasn't dead. He lay on the floor, twitching, curled like a worm, rolling forward in a slow, silent 360-degree twist, then rolling back again. Bugs kept coming. They crawled into his mouth, his nose, his eyes. He saw them gather, dozens, then hundreds, filling the floor, climbing atop one another. And for the first time, he saw their faces. They were smiling, human smiles. Do you enjoy nights like this? Give a like and we'll come again.